couple weeks ago, I designed a new testimonial for my own site, and you guys voted for this one as the winner. So in this video, we're going to be coding it up. Hi, my name is Kevin, and here on my channel, we learn how to make the web and how to make it look good while we're at it with weekly tips, tricks, and tutorials. And as I just said, last week I I designed using Adobe XD this testimonial here, and we did 3 of them. I asked you guys to vote on which one you wanted, and overwhelmingly number 2 won out. So we're going to be coding it up. We're going to be going into my actual code on my actual site and refactoring what I already have there, because what I have there is kind of ugly. So we're going to be going in my actual code now. My site is done using Jekyll, and one problem with Jekyll is it's slow to build. So when I save, it takes a while, so I cut out all the pauses there, but sometimes it might seem like there's little jumps. It's just because I'm cutting out the dead time pretty much. So just so you know what's going on with that, and also so you know I am going to be using Sass, but nothing too fancy. I'm going to sort of explain what I've already done with it. I have a couple functions, a mix-in that I use in there, so I'll explore that a little bit just to explain, because we're using real production code on this one, which I think is one of the first, if not the first time I've done that, so that's kind of fun and exciting. I think that's all we need for now though, so let's jump into the actual code and get this bad boy going. Alright, so here we are in my site. This is the actual code for my site right here. So we're going to be working on in here, and we're going to be doing some stuff, and we're going to be working on the testimonial that we have right here. So the first thing we're going to notice is here I've put this off into its side. It's over here on the side instead of being all together like that. So we're going to have to refactor first my markup a little bit, and then we're going to jump in from here to be looking at the CSS or the Sass, since I wrote this using Sass. So I'm going to keep my testimonial. I'm not working on this one. Actually, I'm working on, let's just scroll up, Adrian Simpson's testimonial right there. So just with the one paragraph, but we'll make sure it works with the long ones as well. I have testimonial body, but that's currently put on a paragraph here. And the reason that's not going to work is because I might have multiple paragraphs. Sometimes it's going to be 1 and sometimes there might be 2. So what I think I'm going to do is actually keep my paragraph just like that. But come and add in a div class here of a testimonial body. And we're going to copy that there, and that one will end right after, yeah, that one's going to end right here, close div. Great, and then the next thing we want to do is my image is okay, the name, we'll keep testimonial name, and I need one more paragraph underneath. Paragraph class is going to be equal to testimonial, I'm going to roll. So that's where, we have front-end dev there. I also I put this a little dash, and I should have used a pseudo element for something like that, I think, but we're not needing them anymore, so I'm going to delete that from there. For here, we're just going to write front-end dev and close paragraph. So we have all of this. Now all of that is in its own div on the side there, or its own little section. So let's tab that over. So whoops, not what I wanted to do. Let's tab that over so it's indented. And here we'll have another one, div class. You'll notice I'm not using Emmet when I'm typing this out, which I usually do if you're used to my other videos. And that's because I'm in a markdown file, since I use Jekyll to build my site, which we'll sort of be looking very briefly at in a second, because I'm going to have to run that. So here we need a div, so let's just call it testimonial. And I have body, what's this, info? We'll call it info. Not really the best name. I could probably come up with a better name for that, but we need it a do for now. And this I can tab over. So you'll also see I'm getting green underlines on here. It's because it's telling me not to put inline HTML in my markdown file, but we'll just ignore that because we can do it. Okay, so I was having a little problem with the site regenerating, but we're back in business, and you can see now that this has actually changed. So my markup, I'm going to leave it just like we were looking at here. And now I've gone over to my testimonials.scss. So I wrote my site using Sass. Now it's not the best example again, because I did it really, really fast, but I do have a function here that I created. So just to show you quickly what that is, because I'm going to be using it a little bit. If I jump into my Sass and my functions, we're going to see a color one. So it lets me put in a color and a shade, and then I have a map of colors that it's going to get through. So what it's doing is whoops, wrong place, colors. It's going through the colors I've set up here. So if I say I want my color primary, it's going to by default take this one, and that one we can see is here. But if I want to either take a dark or light version of it, I've set things up for that. So we can run through this color map that I've done and pick from those colors really easily, so I don't have to remember my hex codes, and I have my light and my dark all there. And the other one I'm going to be using is a mix in here for my media queries. So you can see my media query is right there, but instead of knowing exactly what size I want, I can put in a specific size that is again in a map, well, the only one, a very small map. And you can see my site is MS, and I only have one breakpoint right now at my small screen size, so I'll be using that at one point as well when I'm working on here, because we're going to need a media query, I think. So really quickly, let's look here. I have it set as, where was it? Right here. I have a grid, and I have it as 2 columns because I have a column for my left and I have a column for my right. And I did that originally because I had the picture here and then the name on this side, and I was using that. We're going to still have 2 columns, but we're going to have to switch that up a little bit. For now, I'm going to leave it like that, though, and we'll come back and fix that. We'll see about my gaps. I think we're just going to do a grid gap of like 1em, but we'll see. What else do we need in here? I think that all stays the same. My before, the color on it's going to change, but I'll come back to that. I want to do mostly layout things right now. So my body, which is this, I don't want it to go all the way across. I only want that to be on one side. So this is going to change to a 1/2. And my image, I don't need this on it anymore. We'll take that off. My name, I don't need my border radius either. We're going to go with a square. Take all that off. My name is, I'm going to take off my font weight, but we're going to change this to font family. And I have it as font family script, I think, is what I called it. So that's just a Sass variable that I saved that has my font, which is Marydale, that I've used for that. Oh, I don't need font style italic either. And we do need to set up the color for this, right? My no image, I think I can get rid of that as well. So my color will be color and primary. So the way I've set it up, if I need a shade, I can put one, but if I don't put a shade, oh, it's not primary either, it's coarse, which will be this green color right here. That would be the darker version of it right there if I used the dark. So let's hit refresh on this and see what it's going to look like. All right, so we're on the right track. I'm also going to put a margin bottom of 0 on there because I think there's a margin bottom that's causing a problem. And obviously the font size needs to be quite a bit bigger. Font size double 2em. Usually I use rem, but I think for this I'm going to go with 2em. Yeah, I think that should be okay for the name. And while we're here, I'm also going to do an and info. Did I call it? No, I called it role. And if you don't know about this ampersand, this is another part of Sass. So what it's doing is it's taking, if we go all the way up, I'm nested inside of my class of testimonial. So anytime you see the ampersand, it's as if it's doing this. So testimonial before, testimonial body, testimonial image. So now when I'm doing and role, it's the same as doing testimonial role like that. But because I'm nested inside, Sass is turning this into the testimonial, so I don't have to rewrite it every time. The font size on this is going to be a lot smaller. We'll do like a 0.7em, text, transform, uppercase, font weight. I used 300, and I have a font weight normal, which would be 400. And I probably want to lighten it. To lighten it, I don't really have a color, so I'm just going to, I don't have a lighter gray, or I do, but I'm just going to go with an opacity of like 0.5 for now to try and pull down on the importance of it. Probably not the best for accessibility standards because it's going to make it a little harder to read. And let's go and see what it's going to look like actually. Yeah, it doesn't look fantastic. The name's way too big, and this is looking okay, but I think instead of normal, I'm actually going to make that bold just because with it being a small size, bold, with it being a small size, it becomes harder to read, and I've lowered the opacity, which is making it harder to read, so I think that'll help. And on my name, my name, we're going to give that a different font size. of like 1.25 or something, because that was way massive. And before I do anything else, I want to take this border off as well. So let's go in that. I didn't notice that at the beginning, but background. Let's just say I'm going to have a white background on it. We can white. My padding I'm going to keep because I think that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to change that after. Text align center. I'm going to take that off. Relative, no more border. Font size I'm going to keep. The margins I'm going to keep. Color. So, I took the background off? I did. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. So I'm going to save and refresh. Okay, so we got a little bit there. We need to add in a shadow. And I don't think I have any box shadows anywhere else on my site, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called box shadow that I'll move 2 pixels across. We'll try 5 down, 15 blur, 20 blur. We'll try 15. And we'll do a black at like 0.2. And this is one of my favorite things with Sass is you can just write a black in or a keyword or a variable or whatever you want and give it an opacity. So handy. I think that's going to be okay. And the reason I'm putting this at the top, and this is sort of like a to-do, if ever I do this in one of my own files, it means later on move it, but I don't want to have to be, right now I'm worried about styling this. I'm not worried about jumping through all my files. So I can style this, and then later on I can go through and actually move it to where it should be living, which is I have a partial that's just for stuff like that. And this, you know, I'm sort of iterating on my site, so I could see myself needing box shadows for other things too. So let's just come down to the bottom here and say box shadow is box shadow. A bit repetitive. We could call it like BS or something if you wanted something a bit shorter and easier to write. And just before I refresh, I'm going to come and center the text in here and give it the background color. So let's just go and find that again. Or I didn't create that. That was, I have my image, my body. We'll do it here. I gave it the really good name of info. And so we'll give this a background of, we'll try EF. I want something really light. That might be way too light. It might not even show up. We'll see though. We'll try EF, and we'll give it, I want to center stuff in here too. So we're going to do a text align center. Yeah, we're going to start with the text align center, but I don't know if we need that because I'm going to do a display flex on it. The main reason I want to do a display flex on it is because I want to keep it, like here, I want it centered within this space. So with the display flex, we'll do we'll have to do a flex direction of column, because if I don't do a flex direction of column, it'd be this one column, this the second one, this the third one, so they'll all go next to each other. So that makes sure they're stacked one on top of each other. And then I can do a justify content center. So let's check out what all of this will look like. All right, that's a start. I kept my padding on there, which obviously is a mistake. So let's come back up to the top and remove my padding from the testimonial. And let's fix up the spacing on this. So I'm going to need 2 columns. So one of the columns on this, I'm trying to think the best way to do it. And even the columns, I'm just going to do a 1FR to make a single column. And then we're going to add in our media query. So one nice thing about Sass, if you don't know about it, my media query mixin that we looked at, and this was going to be small. One nice thing with Sass is you can include media queries inside of stuff, so I like doing that because it's easy. And my grid template columns will change when I'm at larger screens. I think the easiest thing to do is just leave this as 1FR, so it's going to fill up as much space as it needs, and we'll set like a maximum. I'll try 250, and we'll see what it looks like for that. And the last thing I'm going to do, info, that's this one, my body. I'm also going to add some padding on this. Padding like 2M, because I think that's what I had here. So I'm going to put the padding on my body is the text itself, so it's just going to make the space around it. So let's go and check that out. That looks much better. I do have a small mistake. Is this too dark? I'm wondering if it's actually too dark. I thought it'd be too light. I'll leave it like that for now. The name I think I'll make a little bit bigger. It also, the opacity looks like I dropped it on that too. We're gonna have to check that out. name should be okay. It's fading, or maybe it's with the gray background. I think I'm going to lighten that up a little bit. This I need to change, and this, actually this is my info. I did something really weird when I made the site, and I never changed it now. I gave everything a default margin to sort of work with a baseline grid, but it's driving me bananas because everything has a margin bottom on it, and it actually causes some problems. I fixed it for my paragraphs already as a default, but for whenever I make a new thing and it has a margin bottom on it, I'm just not used to it. The picture also needs to be in the middle, so here we can do an align items center. And if you're wondering, usually like justify content will center this way and align items will be this way, but because I changed my flex direction, those get reversed as well, because it's not about horizontal and vertical, it's about the main axis and the cross axis. So that looks much better. On my image, 0, 0, and the bottom we'll put like 0.5 m just to give us some space there. And let's lighten up this. So instead of EF, we'll try, I have a little color picker here, F0, we'll try that. And we'll see what that looks like. I also want to center this in this space. So while we're here, that's my body. I'm just trying to think because sometimes I'll have 2 paragraphs and sometimes I'll have 1. So I think I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did, display flex. But we'll change the flex direction to column, and then we'll do a align items, not align items, justify content of center. So if it's 1 paragraph, it'd be centered, but if it's 2 or 3 paragraphs, it should still be centered in that space. And this should work either way now, because if the text is long, this side will grow and this will stay centered, and vice versa. It didn't move down the way I thought it would, but I think that's because my same thing that I said of the default margins that I put on everything that I absolutely hate. So we'll put a margin 0 on there and let's see what that looks like. Yeah, there we go. Perfection. Actually, I'm really happy with how that's looking. This is still too dark. So this is where doing it in the browser is better. Because here you're sort of guessing at it. Whereas if I do it in the browser, we know what we're going to get right away. And normally I'm doing this in Firefox, but today we're in Chrome, because why not? And so I can, we can choose exactly what color we want, and we can see it and then copy the color over. So sometimes that's the better choice. You will notice the colors here and here are different. Like the name doesn't look quite as vibrant as it does here, or the colors in general. And this color would look like that in Firefox, but it's maybe a little bit too much. What would be like F9? That looks okay. It's dark enough. Copy that. So what we can do, colors are more vibrant in Firefox. If ever you're not getting sort of the matches you thought, that will do it. So let's go to my this thing now and fix that. And the content is the same, but my font weight is going to change. So we're going to do a font weight bold, because that should make this look much better. The color is not going to be this. This is a little built-in Sass function of mix that lets you mix colors. But I think my color will just be color coarse, and we'll just do an opacity on it of like 0.15. A really 15% opacity should be perfect. The other thing here is my positioning needs to move, and you'll notice it's 0.2m and 0.2m because my font size is 15, which is huge. So any change I make here is really big, and I think I'm going to use pixels instead. So what I'm actually going to do is start with the top of, and actually I'm going to do it right here. Just because it's taking, I'm cutting out the parts, but because it has to rebuild my site every time and Jekyll's kind of slow, it's taking too long. So I'm going to do this in my before, and if I make this, I think that's the right font size. If I make that 0, where does it go to? So I do need, the top does need to come down, and the left of 0 would be there. So I think I'll stick with a left of 0, and then what if I did if I did 1m? No, 15. That's gonna be a lot. So what if we just did like 50 pixels? 75 pixels. 9 pixels. That looks pretty good. So on here, I'm going to do a top of 90 pixels, and my left will go down to 0, which means I might not need it, but we'll leave it there for now. And let's see what this is going to look like. Yeah, I think that is spot on. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm really happy. Good. Perfection. I think the only thing that's missing now is my little after thing here. So to do that, let's come. We have my before. We'll come right here, and we'll do my after. And so for on my after, what I want to do, first the content will be nothing. What else do we need? I need it to be a square. So can I do this with a box shadow? Box shadow. 0 blur, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 0 blur, 15 pixel spread, course, color, course. Is this gonna work? Oh wait, if I did it on, okay, 1 second. Let's copy this. If I do it as a box shadow, it's not going to be on an after here. It would be with this one. So let's just do a comma, and we'll add a second drop shadow to my testimonial. Oops, this is 15. I should have made this like negative a bunch, not that much, maybe negative 50. And you know what? I don't think it's going to work just because this side's probably pretty good. But it's going to shoot all the way over, and whoop, that didn't work at all. Okay, so I cut out a bit of a brain fart there because I was having some trouble with it. But basically, I'm using the negative 50 to make my shadow smaller than my box. And then I needed to offset it, and I was just having some trouble with my offsets there. So I'm shrinking it down, but then I'm moving it far enough out that we can actually see it. So it's sticking out the bottom here. Now on this side, I think it looks good. The only problem is if I had a long one, it's going to like stretch really far down the side, and I don't really like it. But I think this is something I could use in the future. But for now, I'm not a fan of how it's working. I want to limit it and keep it as a smaller little thing like that. So cool idea, but we're not going to do it. And what we're going to do is come back to this. And I commented that out because I didn't know if it was going to work or not with my box shadow. So since it's not, this is actually something I'm using custom properties a lot for now is pseudo elements, where I can do a size of, I don't know, 200 pixels. And then I can come in here and do my width of var size and my height of var size. And I need a background on there that's going to be my color course. And position's going to need to be absolute. Position absolute with... Actually, I need a bottom and a right to nudge it out enough. So for that, I could also do it up here. We can say an offset of, I don't know, negative 15 pixels? Negative 15, sure, that looks like negative 15. How much did I do when I did my box shadow? I don't remember. Let's see. I think I did 10, so maybe we'll have to change that, but that's okay. Then we can do a bottom of var offset and a right of var offset and hit save on that. So the nice thing with this is I don't have to change the value twice. Whoops, and I also made a big typo here. Var. That's better. So yeah, I don't need to put the number in twice when I want to change it. And, you know, this is something you wouldn't use a Command F for, you know, a find and replace or something like that, because you won't want to change everything that has 200 pixels. You're sort of making this local little property that's only working in this world, and you don't have to worry about it anywhere else. So let's see how that is looking. Not a good start. It's on top, but it's also way too big. I want to have that. So we're going to switch this, and this is where it's nice. I only need to do 1, and then I can also come in Z index this. That should do the trick. And there we go. My offset's a little too big. I was right. I should make that 10. And again, I only have to change it in one spot, and it changes everywhere. So that's really handy, and I love doing this for a little, especially I find in pseudo elements, I've been doing this more and more. Because, I don't know, you make little squares or things you need to move equally in 2 different directions. And I just realized I deleted my other box shadow when I deleted the one I didn't like. So that looks much closer to what I want. Box shadow. So I deleted my whole box shadow. I want to keep this one. of box shadow, and I think I'm actually going to make this a little tiny bit smaller. We're going to do 75 even, just to make it a little bit smaller, maybe 50. Yeah, I'm going to go with 50 in the end, so a lot smaller than the 200 I started with. That was a major miscalculation on my part. And you can't really see this box, but the box shadow coming back on there will save that. Now it's too small. Okay, we're going to fix that off screen. I guess I should have gone with 75. We'll round it up to 70, and we'll call that a day. And I think I'm done with that. I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It's a little too tiny right now. It's saving. But I'm really happy with how this has turned out. Now, one thing I haven't tested yet is how this is going to work on small screens. So let's take a quick look at that. So we'll click right here. This is my responsive mode. I always get questions about that when I use it. Another reason Firefox is nice is if you close the DevTools, it stays in responsive mode. So we need some space on the top and bottom of that when we're at small screens, but otherwise it's looking perfecto. Coolio. Awesome. So that's looking good. And I should probably look at what a longer one's going to look like, but for this video, I'm going to end it there. Let's just see if this looks a bit better. But yeah, we're going to end this video here, and if there's any little touch-ups or little things that I need to do by the end, there we go, much better. I'll always explore those on my own, but I think I'm pretty happy with that. And there we have it. It is done. If you want to check it out, you can head on over to my website and see it live. It's all up there now. And yeah, I'd love to know what you think. Does it look better? Leave a comment down below to let me know about it. I really appreciate the feedback on the last one to get us picked with that design. So I think I'm going to be doing this more where I'm giving you guys some choices when I design something on what I'm going to be coding, maybe. Let me know if you think that's a good idea in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. A very big thank you to my patrons for helping support everything I do here. If you don't know about Patreon, it's a place where you can support creators who make content you think is valuable. And if you want to know more about it, there is a link in the description below. And a big, massive thank you to Lauren, who is my supporter of awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lauren. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed but you like this video, consider subscribing. And of course, until next time, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.